from JD's Custom Buggies. This is going to be our third and final video on this guy. I kind of cheated you. I know on the last one we had like 5 different videos, but we have a race this weekend, so everything was kind of rushed. Probably didn't take as many pictures and document as much stuff on this as I normally do. But we got down to the wire, so we hit a couple of glitches and yada yada yada. So anyhow, as we talked about, we're going to completely rip off the front end. We did all the arms and tie rods, and most of the components here were fabricated in shop. With the exception of, I can't take full credit for the spindles. What I did was take the stock spindles and we modified them to fit with what we're working with. So there's a lot of cutting, grinding, and re-welding on some stuff. The other thing we did was we had talked about, we had a big long straight shaft, a big long rack pinion, straight steering shaft that came down and connected. We got rid of that. We fabricated a steering shaft and had to find something else I could use for the steering wheel because I need the spline portion. I wanted to be able to, if we needed to change the steering column bushings or anything like that, I didn't want something that was permanently welded there that we had to cut it off just to change the bushings. So little hunting around in the junk piles or what I have. I'm a bit of a buggy hoarder, so did find a part. It ended up being, if I'm not mistaken, the short steering shaft that comes on a Baja Reaction. I believe it was a 250. The only reason I say that is I have an old Baja Reaction 250 chassis sitting in another bay. So I assumed that came, the paint matched. We did a little forensic study, and it seemed to be the same faded red paint, so probably where it came from. So we took the short shaft off that, and the bushings, knocked them out of the old steering shaft holder that I clamped onto the frame. What I had to do was cut some of the tube where the stock shaft fit through. We had to kind of make them so they were the same length, that was the old bracket. The other bracket was about 1.25 inches longer, so we cut it off to match this, stuck it in there. Fortunately, where the old bracket was about 1 inch from this collar here, we actually had about 3 inches here, so it kind of spaced the steering wheel out the same. So it worked kind of perfect. The bushings fit right into the tube. What I had to do was, because I had to eyeball the cut and everything, and you know, measure twice, cut once type deal. Well, I measured like 3 times and cut once, and ended up being, I just cut a little bit longer, you know, a little bit too much of this off. So we found some washers that we stuck in there for a spacer and stuck it up, and everything worked great. There we fabricated the steering shaft. I want to come over here, Abel, and our guest cameraman today is Abel Espinoza. He owns the buggy. So we have a metric spline going to a 5/8 32, whatever it is. It's standard on Earth Dogs and most VW stuff. Took some DD shaft, welded this all together, brought it down, made this so it's collapsible. Put a heavy duty universal joint on there. It's a weld on joint to a 5/8 32 spline onto the box. Turns really great. Not a whole lot of effort has to go into it. The other big issue with the buggy was, of course, bumps here. And where we came into the issue, and what kind of got me going backwards a little bit, was the way I had the shocks mounted. I didn't have a whole lot of room to work with because of these bars here, and we have a hood that goes over everything. So whatever I did had to I couldn't cut these bars off or change them, and we have a hood that goes over everything. So I couldn't go above the bars, otherwise it would interfere with the hood. So my original thought was, all right, I'm gonna take as long a shock in there as possible, and I actually made mounts. You can kind of see them because I cut them down here. But I had the bottom shock mount was below the arm, and I brought the top shock mount inside of where, which would have been under the hood, but it was inside the bar. Problem with that was I got too much lean on the shock, and as I pushed down on the buggy, the way I had the bottom shock mount, it actually acted like a lever. And instead of actually putting pressure on the shock, it actually was just swinging the shock. So when I first put this on the ground, the thing just nosedived because it really had no resistance to the shock. Once I realized what was going on and kind of looked at it for a little bit, I said, okay, we gotta completely redo this. Because of the triangular arms, I didn't have enough room to come back up to the stock mount. So I had to, and I did leave them on there because I didn't want to make a mess cutting them up, and like I said, because of time constraints. So, number one, I cut the bottom mounts off of the bottom of the arm and plated the arm here, put the mounts on top of the arm. This way, I was guaranteed that instead of any lever effect that I was going to get a push on the shock. And then from there, bolted that down tight, let the shock lay where it naturally was, confirmed my measurements on both sides so they're the same, made another top mount, welded it right to the frame. Probably got to notch the hood a little bit. I don't have the hood in the house right now, but Abel's going to probably have to notch the hood if it interferes or whatnot, but it's not a big deal. Might just have to snip about a ½ inch out, you know, make a ½ inch indent or groove in this hood for it to fit. The shocks that we ended up using were they used the ATV shocks from a Yamaha Blaster. They're 14.5 inches long. They tend to be a good shock. In fact, during the week, we actually retrofitted one of our Trailmaster buggies with the whole Blaster front and rear package to kind of help out the suspension on the Trailmaster on the track. It's raised by my niece, so we figured we were doing some other modifications to that buggy, so I ordered some Blaster shocks, got them in on eBay, and wanted to try it out on that, so we actually did that on that buggy too. So I had some extra Blaster shocks, so that's what we ended up using. Right now, it's the softest setting, I believe. Yes, they are. So, I mean, if we need to go stiffer, we can, but it's pretty good right now, but only the track's going to be able to tell how that works. The other big issue was the bump steer. Bump steer was so horrendous on this thing that even without the tie rods connected, which is, tie rod usually contributes to the bump steer when the arms go up and down, that even without the stock arms are at such a weird angle that if you just lifted it up by the arm or by the end of the spindle without a wheel on there, it would literally turn by itself. And basically, whether it drooped too far, it would turn out. Whether it raised too far, it would turn out. So that was a huge problem. We have no bumps here in this whatsoever. As I'm pushing, get a little bit of camber change, but the wheels are going to stay true. And that was the biggest complaint with this. You hit a jump and land, and you'd be all over the place. So really interested to see how this turns out. Try to make everything as solid as possible. I think it'll fare pretty well. Some other changes we did change the rear shocks out for a new set of stockers, which made a big difference because the old ones were like pogo sticks. So we're going to basically it's going to get a test this weekend. So if anybody's interested, as always, you can see race clips on JD's Custom Buggies on YouTube. You can check out JD's Custom Buggies Facebook page. If you're interested in MBX racing at all, there is an MBX racing Facebook page that basically you can ask to join and will be accepted regardless. Subscribe to the YouTube page. You'll see build clips like this. You'll see race clips. And most of all, this weekend at Bartow, the MBX buggies will be racing with the I4MX series, Kenny Yoho's I4MX series at Bartow Motocross in Bartow, Florida. And you can catch that all day, the whole day of racing on National Sports Broadcasting. And then soon after, within a day or two, on the National Sports Broadcasting YouTube channel. You'll get the whole day's worth of racing. Of course, you just want to weed out and see the buggies, we understand. In which case, leave a comment about the buggies on their channel. Let everybody know how much you guys love the buggy racing. You can message me. I'm JD Plakiotis. If you have any questions, whether it be buggy questions or on MBX or anything else. But that's it for tonight. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.